Mr. Number, please. Just give me a nod when you want me to start, actually.
All right. Hello, everybody. We've got Jalal Haddad starting us off the little strum here. Everybody, how's it going? Thank you for joining us. Kevin Luther here, Voluptuary and Lucid Wines, and
Jerome Luther. I'm here with him as well.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us. So we're here live at Voluptuary Wines and Lucid Wines here in Sacramento at the winery. As you can see, we've got some barrels behind us, and we've also got Jalal Haddad started us off with a nice little ditty. And thank you, Jalal.
Our chairs were louder last time, but that's because we were more drunk. It was the end of the show. It was just as fantastic this time.
It's true, it's true. So we're still about a drink or two in, but not that far along. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for this live tasting. I believe a lot of you guys have your 5 wine tasting kits and are joining us to taste along with these tasting kits, as Jerome has there. A lot of you bought the 2 kits in a bottle, and some of you bought the 5 bottle kits. So thank you everyone for anything you got. We are a tiny little winery here in Sacramento, and you guys getting all of these kits and these wines has taken us from worrying that we weren't going to survive these crazy times to booming. I mean, things are taking off. We had 200 of these kits sell last week, so thank you guys so much for, for supporting us and for helping us survive these times and make it through. So, and thank you for being here today. And please,
on that note, I wanted to say this has been fantastic. This is how we're going to make it through. It feels like now, but there are always repercussions of every change. And one of those, as many of you know, we don't buy packaging. Other than the padded envelopes, everything that we package to ship with is another package that we received, and I cut it up, I remake it, and I turn it into packaging to get things out again safely. It's a great way for us to not have to even recycle, although recycling is better than throwing things away, but we upcycle it, turn it into new packaging, and nothing gets used that doesn't need to. But we've used up pretty much everything we've received in. So if I'm doing a delivery and I'm coming by and you've got old cardboard boxes, ours from some other drink from Amazon, whatever, if you've got bubble wrap or foam hanging around that you don't know what to do with, but you can't bring yourself to get rid of it, let me know when I'm coming by. I'll pick it up and I'll turn it into packaging for somebody else. We don't have to put anything through the system. Nothing goes to waste, and wine gets to people in one piece. So thank you.
Joe, could you actually roll the door down for volume reasons? So thank you for the comments and letting us know it's a bit quiet. We're gonna talk a little louder and close the door so the recording volume goes up a bit.
Normally we're told to quiet down a little and stop talking so loud, so we'll adjust.
Right? So yeah. So for those of you joining us, it's Kevin Luther and Jerome Luther here at Voluptuary and Lucid Wines in Sacramento. We are going to be tasting through 5 wines, but real quick, while people are still signing in, we're going to do a quick little tour and introduction of this winery. So I want to pop up here and... Hi folks, I'm Kevin Luther. I'm the winemaker and owner here at Voluptuary and Lucid Wines. And I launched this winery after having made wine for other people for 15 years and studying viticulture and enology at UC Davis, generally considered one of the best winemaking schools in the world, just right here outside of Sacramento. And traveled around the world making wine, came back to this region, and decided to launch Voluptuary and Lucid to focus on organic and natural wines. The Voluptuary wines are all certified organically grown and organically made all the way through. The Lucid wines are a little bit more, I don't know, say laid back, easygoing, a little lower price point, but still totally natural. A lot of them are organically grown but not certified, and they're all made with organic techniques, no sulfites, and vegan. So yeah, with that being said, that's me and my background as a winemaker. I'm a hardcore environmentalist and just love making fun wines. I'm going to give you guys a little tour of the winery here. What you see behind us is a bit of our barrel storage. I'm going to pivot these cameras here. All right, so over here you see more of our winery. We've got some tanks we ferment and age in. We've got some barrels we age in. And we have just a little bit of stuff over here, the entryway here.
Studio audience.
Studio audience. And that concludes our tour. Thank you all for our weekly tour. I do that ridiculous tour because I'm gonna fix this Instagram camera here a bit there. Sorry for the shakiness. That's what happens when you get a $10 camera holder off Amazon. So I do that little mini tour because I want to emphasize how tiny we are. This is a 1,000 square foot warehouse in an industrial district next to Vice Brewing off Power Inn and 14th here in Sacramento, just outside of Tahoe Park. It's this tiny little warehouse. We got a metalworking shop and a brewery. I mean, a pretty laid back scene. So all of your guys' support is massive to us. I mean, we've sold out about 5% of our entire yearly production in the last week just from what you guys have ordered. So this is incredibly important to us. We make 1,000 cases a year. Our first year, we made 200. Gallo, the winery that dominates store shelves, they're about 50% of what you see in a grocery store. Last year, they made a couple 100 million cases. So 200 million maybe, we made 200. They're about 1 million times larger than us. So that's how small production we are. That's how much your support means. And thank you so much for supporting ourselves as well as other local small businesses. In fact, we have some food from Localis coming here today, and we have a surprise guest, Chef Chris Barnum, joining us for a moment here. He's snuck away from service tonight to join us for a second. How's it going, bro? We'll do
Good.
Distance taps.
Boom. We blew it up. So I just delivered the tasting menu to these fine gentlemen, and you probably know me from Localis, and if you know me like Kevin knows me or any of my other friends, I'm insanely honest all the time. That is a good thing with Kevin because he makes incredible wines, and it's really fun to be able to pair his wines with my food because they're made for food.
Second time today, he made Kevin giggle like a schoolgirl.
Yeah, so, but really, I mean, people know me, so it's like, you might not like the honesty, but at the same time, when you get a positive, something from me, you know it's real, so it should feel really good. And his wines are great, and the wine that we're pairing, the Grenache Pinot Noir, is fantastic, and it pairs exceptionally with the jerk quail dish. Really fun, and support this guy. He's doing awesome stuff, and I am also insanely passionate about conserving our earth. So I love everything that he's doing there. All of our stuff is all of our to-go is either recyclable or 100% compostable. We've done that from the beginning just because we didn't want to, fill the landfills. But I'm gonna get back to Localis and let you guys watch what you really wanted to watch, which is this handsome guy. And the hat too. He didn't have the hat when he came to Localis. Obviously, I wasn't good enough for the hat. But
I had to add some extra hipster
Some
flair
extra
for
hipster
our
flair.
live video.
You guys enjoy the rest of the tasting. We're going to be watching from Localis. Bye, you guys.
All right, thanks, Chris. Thanks for dropping by. I appreciate the hand delivery.
And if you guys didn't watch the live video earlier, the code to get the Quail entree for $20 is hipster. Then you'll know you're a friend of Kevin and Chris's, and you'll get the deal.
Yeah. So, by way of explanation, in case you guys didn't catch the announcements earlier or earlier posts, the theme of this week's event is one of our wines here, one of our new release wines, the one he mentioned, the V4, the Source Pinot Grenache blend, is pairing with one of his dishes on the pairing menu at Localis. So, all through this weekend, as well as next week, all week until Sunday, you can order their full pairing menu. It has our wine as well as some other really great local wines. And for our fans only, you can get the jerk quail dish. These pairing with our stuff a la carte, and order that. You can order that right now, and you'll get it after the tasting here. And just delicious local food. So
yeah, his food is really amazing, quite artistic, and the prices right now are pretty fantastic. They've got sorbets like a Meyer lemon fennel sorbet and a burnt cream gelato that are only $6 each. A lot of really reasonable entrees and as well. So go check them out. It's good food.
yeah. So that being said, we're going to jump into the tasting here in just a moment. Again, we're tasting our 5 wine tasting kits. Those are only $8 on our website. We do this every Saturday at 5 p.m. We have a different theme every Saturday. So next Saturday is all of our Voluptuary organic wines, and then we're going to have the Lucid wines the week after that. And then we're going to have Marcus Bokish from Bokish Vineyards, organic grapes out in Lodi. And after that, we're going to have a draw and drink night with Chen. We're working on trivia nights and all sorts of cool stuff coming up. So check out our website, Voluptuary Wine. You can order those there and join us for future tastings. With that being said, Jerome, do you want to introduce people real quick to the tasting sheet they're going to be following along with? And then we'll launch into this first wine. In just under a minute, we'll be getting to the first one.
So I'm not sure if this is going to show correct or backwards, but you have a sheet like this. It corresponds with the wines that you have in your little set, and so you can just match them up. They'll be in the same order from light to dark, and as we go over it, you've got a place to take notes or draw stick figures, whatever suits you, and you've got some basic info so you can play along at home.
Cool. So now, without further ado, you can pour that first wine in your glass. So you'll have that first little vial with you. Pop that cork. You may be able to just pull it off. If you can't, you can use a corkscrew and open that up.
Or you can shoot it if you're even more hipster.
Yeah, true. That is an option. I like to give it the nice little swirl. So this first wine, the Chenin Blanc, is a brand new wine for us. I've never made a Chenin Blanc for Voluptuary and Lucid before. This is 100% organic Chenin Blanc. It's going to be under the Voluptuary brand. This comes from a vineyard in the Carmel Valley region, technically, but it's actually in the Carmel Mountains. It was formerly called Heller Estates and is now known as Massa Estates. A really legendary historical vineyard. It's like feels like the Garden of Eden when you go up there. You're just going through these crazy mountain roads to get to this vineyard, and they grow beautiful grapes. That being said, this wine, half of it I fermented in barrel, half of it I fermented on the skin contact style, and I blended those together and aged them on a little bit of oak, some apple wood, and some acacia wood.
So that 50-50, half in barrel and half with the skins, is that why this is like a little lighter and crisper than some of the other skin contacts you make?
Exactly. So it's not an all the way skin contact wine. So, okay, that's geekery on the technique. Let me tell you a bit about the flavor. I wanted to give you guys a second to get your own sense of the flavor. For me, this is a wine that has a lot of nice ripe fruit, like pear and peaches and apples, balanced with some citrus, and also this creaminess that really kind of mellows it out. To be specific, my tasting notes for this are pears and cream, creme brulee, candy apple aromas, and similar notes in the palate, but more citrus, orange marmalade, and Moroccan cured lemons. So there's a really cool mix of like creaminess, ripe fruit, and this citrus, but like salty, sweet citrus almost.
Yeah, I could see that. I could actually see this working really well with couple of Chris's items that I was just mentioning earlier, the Meyer Lemon and Fennel sorbet, or the charred cream gelato, because they have a lot of the same smooth, crisp, like citrusy flavors.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. I agree with that pairing. So one of the things I do food pairings, and we've already more or less mentioned some of these food pairings. With wine, I think that sometimes we get a bit hoity-toity and fancy. And I already have done that, using all these crazy terms, right? But just to keep it like a bit goofy, I try to do other pairings. So you can't take this too seriously. You have to play along with me. This is a life pairing. So the life pairing for this wine, this is my hot kitchen baking day wine. You're making pies, you're making lemon curd, you're making creme brulee, you're canning pears, you're doing stuff like that. So you got a hot kitchen, you need a cold white wine to go with it. This wine does that. And then I also do music pairings. The music pairings for this, Aqueous Transmission by Incubus. Normally not an Incubus fan. If you know Incubus, I'm not a fan. That song, Aqueous Transmission, you wouldn't believe it's Incubus. Check that song out. One Day by Modest Yahoo. And those two. They're both just really hopeful, peaceful songs. So I think this wine goes with those nicely. And lastly, I have my literary pairing. So this one is: a little dogwood tree is losing its mind, overflowing with blossom foam, like a sudsy mug of beer, like a bride ripping off her clothes, dropping snow-white petals to the ground in clouds. So nature's wastefulness seems quietly obscene. It's been doing that all week, making beauty and throwing it away, and making more. That's Tony Hoagland from Donkey Gospel, a wonderful name for a poetry book. So cool. So that's the first wine. So thank you all for listening to my hilarious and ridiculous notes on the wines. If you guys have any questions on that wine or any comments, please shout them out, and our studio audience can give me shouts and let me know if there's questions I'm missing.
Yeah, that's another thing that ties into us being such a small winery and using this as the platform to grow and survive. The more you can share our posts, comment on the posts, have your own little side Zoom parties, go live along with us, that's what's going to allow us to keep doing this and keep bringing the wine to you and bringing in fun guests for everybody.
Yeah. So please ask questions, make comments. It makes this more interesting. We want to keep this interactive because otherwise I'll just ramble for hours about details of the wine.
I want to be basically hidden behind little emojis floating up like bubbles.
Right, so there we go. That's the first wine. And we're going to move on to the second wine now. That'll be your second vial. It'll be the pink one. That is our L2 Urban Flora Rosé. So last year this was 100% Barbera. This year it's Barbera with a little bit of Pinot Noir as well.
My notes are a little out of date. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So no worries. I mean that was true last year. So
only a year off.
Yeah. This wine, if you've tried other rosés, they tend to be fairly light. They're borderline white wine color and flavor profile.
And they're usually, I feel, very sweet as well, almost like a cooler or whatever they call them.
True. Yeah, that kind of wine cooler style. Rosé slushies are a big trend right now, so that can be pretty fun too. But this one is a bit of a different style. This is a darker style rosé. You're going to notice, as you pour it in your glass here, I can crack that one. I got a bottle opener around here somewhere. Our rosé, the way I do it, it's Saunier style rosé. So what gives a rosé its light pink color as opposed to a red wine that's dark red is the skins are what give red wine their color. The juice of a red grape is clear. So if you leave the wine on the skins just a little bit and then drain it off, or as other languages tend to say, bleed it off, Saunier translates to bleed, you get a little bit of extraction from the skins, as if, when you make tea, you leave hot water in the tea bag, you extract a little bit of color. If you just leave it for a second, you get a pinch of color. If you leave it a long time, you get more. That's the difference between a white, a rosé, and a red wine, is that level of extraction. So, So now we'll get a little bit of that in our glass here. And with that color, you're going to see kind of these pink, light red flavor profiles. Strawberry, cherry, watermelon.
As well as some nice floral, herbaceous notes on this one.
Where are
which
the
is kind of-
grapes from?
Good question. So,
Good question.
yeah, so there's a question from the crowd. Carrie in our studio audience just asked us, where are the grapes from? So, on this wine, the Barbera is from Cooper Vineyards in Amador County. They were voted Vineyard of the Year last year at the California State Fair. Wonderful vineyard. They're most known for their Barbera. We made a red Barbera from these grapes as well, but the Barbera Rosé is coming out first. The Pinot Noir is largely from Bokish Vineyards in Lodi, which is a kind of weird place to get Pinot Noir from, but it's this really cool vineyard in the hills towards the Delta. So it's a bit cooler, a lot more wind, and it makes a really nice Pinot Noir. Maybe not for a super dark, spicy Pinot Noir, but for a rosé, killer. So that wine, those are the flavor profiles. To give you some of my my weird pairings, let me dive into that real quick. We have our life pairing. This one, more laid back, less complicated. It's sunset drinks with friends, hanging at the beach, festival life. And then the music pairings match that. It's Lazy Afternoon by Revolution, All the Time by Bahamas, and
Bye, Jalal. Thanks for
bye,
joining
Jalal.
us.
Thanks for coming out.
We're not
and
going to
then-
pretend we all didn't just look over there for something.
So lastly, Jalal Haddad, our musical pairing today, has just headed off. So our literary pairing for this wine is a quote from Tom Robbins from Jitterbug Perfume, and it is, never underestimate how much assistance, how much satisfaction, how much comfort, how much soul and transcendence there might be in a well-made taco and a cold bottle of beer. So, of course, that quote references beer, but I think it's true of a cold wine too.
Yeah, because this is very much something that you would eat with something spicy or something that you need the cooling with. This is one that we often describe, and you know, this description is a carryover of last year's rosé as well, but as a dangerous day drinking wine, because it's really great for, you know, floating down the river, hanging out in a hammock, or, you know, gardening, anything like that, or like the descriptions Kevin gave. It's really good. Or, you know, hot food. I've said quite a few times I think it's a great Thai pairing, but Mexican, like things like tacos as well. It's just one of those ones, like, with the weather we're getting into now, you don't want a deep, dark red that's going to kind of bog you down. Something like this.
Yeah.
And on a
Exactly.
similar note, I actually have for a couple of the wines today weed pairings. Not every wine makes sense with weed, but some of them do. And this is one that I think really does. Mostly because it's such like a nice outdoors day drinking wine. I think it goes really good with like a nice clean sativa, something like a Jack Herrera, or if you can get a hold of it, they have some new weeds these days where they focus on the terpene rather than the strain. A place called Abatin in Sacramento offers it. And you can get things that focus on your moods, relaxation or energy. And I would really highly recommend this with the one they call Inspiration. Smoke a little bit of that, have a little glass of this, and suddenly you're redesigning your rock path in your garden, or doing arts and crafts, and making yourself a Galaxy Bear t-shirt, or things like that. So,
Spot on. I love the weed pairings with 420 coming up. That's just so perfect.
and both of those are things I did, by the way. So.
Yeah, so shout out to our cousin Annie and her daughter Maggie is
She's a
his daughter.
Galaxy Bear.
Yeah,
Finance.
Galaxy Bear. So that is our L2 Urban Flora Rosé. Just a fun wine, easy going. You can find this one at Sack Yard, a wonderful place to go drink beer, and they got food trucks and, well, some wine. You can also find this at Sacramento Natural Foods Co-op. They stock a bunch of our wines and are just selling tons of it. So check that out. Also, Federalist Public House, another great place to drink beer. also stocks this wine as well as our L1 and our L8 for Lucid brand. So
You'll have to check with each of them to see whether they're just offering pickup or delivery or.
I know Sackyard is, I believe Federalist is too. So support local business, support those guys, great people at those companies. So, and something I didn't mention when we started off, this beautiful art on the label is from Sacramento artist Micah Crandall-Bear. Awesome artist, grew up, born and raised in Sacramento. He knew our older brother, and he's just taken off in the last year. He's going crazy all around the world. People are finding out about him, representing Sacramento massively. He let us use his art on our labels, so that's just amazing. Thank you, Micah, and hope you guys all like that art.
Nida Joy Enriquez would like you to share the food pairings from Localis.
Ah, okay. The food pairings from Localis, I don't have right in front of me. I'll pull those up in a second when I have my next little moment of a break. Not all of the wines are paired, of our wines are paired with a dish at Localis. Specifically, one of our wines today, the one we're about to get to, is paired with the jerk quail dish. The other dishes in his pairing menu are paired with other really cool wineries. So that's why he made that dish available a la carte for our customers, is so you can get the V4 and that dish together to try that pairing. But yeah, the whole menu isn't based on our wines. So those first two weren't paired specifically. We're throwing out ideas of things they could pair, but they're not like specifically paired. So that being said, we can hop into the third wine here. We have the V4 The Source Light Red Blend. This is the referenced wine that is paired with Localis jerk quail dish. So,
and as you kind of see Kevin pouring there from a mason jar, that's how it's available at Localis as well. So you could pick up food and pick up a mason jar of Kevin's wine if you don't want to get the whole bottle. You just want something for your...
Right. Who's a hipster now, Chris? So yeah, he's selling wine for high-end wine and food pairings out of mason jars, and he called me a hipster. Love that guy. Hey, Chris. So now, yeah. Again, all of these are new release wines. If you're just joining us, these are our 5 wine tasting kits. This week's theme is new releases. They are wines that I actually haven't released yet, so it's technically pre-release futures tastings. Everything you're checking out tonight was not until this morning available on the website. If you go to our website, voluptuarywine.com, you can see these wines. They will all say new release, pre-release, futures. They will ship in May. If you order now, you can get them, scope those out.
Yeah, those of you who received the rosé as part of the bottle plus 2 kits, you'll notice that the barcode is faked. We bottled some early so that we could get it out as a bottle with this, but they're not out for release yet until he bottles them now.
Yeah, it's true. So, so thank you again, everyone, for getting these kits and joining us. Again, we're a tiny little winery, and 200 kits sold this week. Just insane. I mean, we were on Fox 40 News here in Sacramento. We just got covered in the LodiWine.com blog by Randy Caparoso. Wonderful writer, wrote a really cool article on us.
That was incredible writing.
What, isn't that? I mean, he's honestly like a beautiful writer. I used to think I was a writer when I was younger, and I read his article, was like jealous. I'm like, damn, man, that guy knows how to write. Check it out, Randy Caparoso, LodiWine.com. Really cool blog article. We post that on our page, so you can catch that link there. So this wine, the V4 The Source Light Red Blend. So it's a red blend, right? But if you go get a red blend from the store, you know, your Apothic or whatever, what they're doing is they're taking the darkest fruit red wines you can get. You know, your Zinfandel, your Petit Syrah, your Cabernet Sauvignon, whatever is as dark as possible. They're giving you really, really ripe fruit. They're picking basically raisins. They're adding water back to it. They're adding sugar back to it. And they're bottling that up. That's most red blends. I thought, what if I do kind of the antithesis of that? You know, I mean, if I'm a hipster winemaker, I just have to be intentionally contrarian, right? So, so this is, you know, it was a thought about that. Like, why are all red blends dark? Why can't you make a light red blend? And also that Pinot Noir is the second most popular grape in the U.S. after Cabernet Sauvignon, and yet, while Cabernet Sauvignon is always blended, Pinot Noir is never blended. So why not? So I thought, let's blend Pinot Noir with Grenache. Both of them have light red fruit flavors, strawberry, cherry, raspberry, pomegranate, cranberry, you know. But they have different aspects of that. And Pinot Noir can go a little more towards the pepper and earth angle, and Grenache can go towards this herbaceous, candied fruit, kind of, mushroomy flavor. So you get these different elements of red fruit and spice, and I thought they would play really well together. So
I'm getting like a little bit of like a caramely, buttery type of taste on this, and less of the cherry from last year's V4. Is that like?
Yeah. So every year is different. So even if I use similar techniques, one of the things about winemaking is the climate, the soil, things. The French call it terroir, and terroir sounds fancy because it's the French word. But if you ask a French winemaker or farmer about it, they go, terroir, it's not fancy. It means your soil, your climate, the farmer, the winemaker, they influence the flavor. The wine is the result of its influences. Simple. So V4, the source red blend of these two vineyards, is different year to year because the vineyard and the grapes were different year to year. So even though I didn't do anything different as a winemaker, the climate and the season were different, so it influenced differently. Which is to say, this year, the grapes just came through a little riper and a little richer. So to me, they give like more of a creamy richness that gives this almost caramelized flavor profile.
Yeah.
Another little twist I threw in here that enhances that is that I always use all these crazy woods, right? This is something we've talked about in previous tastings. I won't tell the full story, but it boils down to our family. It's a family of woodworkers. That's probably the biggest thing in our family in terms of jobs. We've all made our way that way. And they asked me, why do I use why do we only use oak? Well, it makes a good barrel, but other woods can create good flavors. I don't know other winemakers who do this, so I've experimented with this. Cherry maple and hickory were my first woods, but this last year I started using interesting Brazilian woods used in cachaca, a Brazilian rum. And
this has that in it?
This has that in it, and it gives this really intense cinnamon, clove, vanilla spice. You've tried
warming spices?
Yeah, the warming spices, as you call them, yeah. So I only put 0.3% of a wine aged on that wood into this blend, so it's really subtle, but it's a very strong wood, so it definitely influenced it. So that enhances that characteristic. Yeah. So
oakier than oak.
Yeah, exactly. It's just really spicy and intense.
So where's the food that goes with it?
So the food that pairs with this is the Localis jerk quail dish they have. If you check out our Facebook page, if you're tech savvy enough, you can do a control, whatever, or the right click, and you can tab out another thing. We have it posted on our page, their menu. It's a beautiful jerk quail dish. There's these allspice components and warming spices components he uses in the dish, and he does a little bit of char. So Instagram is seeing the dish right now. Facebook will see that in a moment. So this is the jerk quail dish. It's our camera work isn't perfect, so it's much more beautiful than that in reality, and it is freaking delicious.
Yeah, it's got a cornbread stuffing, black bean puree underneath, and then a carrot slaw along with a carrot fronds and cilantro on top.
Yeah, it's a really delicious dish. I was trying that with Chris earlier. Our video we have posted on the Voluptuary Facebook page, which is not behind me. I'm just like pointing towards the internet. Yeah, so you can order that from Localis. Again, that dish would normally be $30 or $40. They're offering it to our followers, people who are watching this video right now, for only $20 a la carte. It's absolutely ridiculous. A fine dining entree for $20.
Super juicy.
That's insane.
Wow.
So yeah, Carrie says, "Wow, yeah, it's ridiculous." Definitely order that. So yeah, my life pairing for this is a summer bonfire at the beach, or in the redwoods when there's no fire danger. A friend's playing a guitar. Your belly is full from some beautiful barbecue or jerk quail, and maybe a spliff is being passed around the fire pit. Yeah, it's just your You're relaxing on the beach, summertime. Like it's smoky fire, but it's also summertime beach vibe. You know, I feel like this wine has that balance.
Yeah, and kind of going along with Chris pairing with this, I think this is one of your best dinner wines. I think a lot of your wines, you know, we talk about them having different life experiences. It's good for a hike or, you know, day drinking or like relaxing alone. This is a great one to have along with just about any kind of food. Anything Italian, you know, it could work with a lot of different like European, South American type of dishes.
It's true. I think this
And
wine
tomatoes.
and the next wine, the Grenache, you see these lighter reds tend to do really well with the high-end restaurants and the chefs, who I think really appreciate the lightness that can then pair with food really well.
Yeah, well, the Grenache is part of the blend as well, so that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So you see that influence, yeah. So to wrap this wine up, my music pairing with this, The Sound of Sunshine by Michael Franti. Awesome Oakland musician. If you never checked out Michael Franti, check him out. He's super local here.
And uplifting.
Yeah, super
I like
uplifting. Like, especially right now when everyone's like at home and struggling. It's like music like Michael Franti and Summer Nights by Aeration. These are good songs. Listen to these; they're gonna perk you up. So, and then lastly, literary pairings. A quote from J.R.R. Tolkien. If more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world. So, I think it's a good thing for right now, where we're all freaking out about the economy, but ultimately it's forcing us to slow down.
Well, and a lot more than the economy as well. I mean, it's tough being isolated, being in, you know, the world's in kind of a scary place right now.
Yeah.
Actually, on that note, I kind of wanted to also talk about, and you're welcome to like pull up what you need for the next wine. Give some shout outs to the people out there. We jumped from 60 to 120 to 150, and now we got 200 people on, and we get, you know, tens of thousands of views of the video. The connectedness of this, I think, is what's really making it work. We get to hear from you guys. I get to go around and bring wine to everybody and, you know, talk about this. You get to have your Zoom parties, and it's just fun that we're all over the U.S. We're all over, but it's just people coming back together. Family, friends, you know, drinking associates. We're all just kind of coming together as one. And so I'm going to pull my notes here real quick, because we talked previously, and I don't have any costumes today, sorry guys. But, you know, we got people all over from like Boston to Florida to, you know, Massachusetts joining in with us. We continued spreading. We've had people from Texas and all over. This week we have with us people from Oregon, all over California, from San Francisco to LA to up north in the Eureka area. We got people in Oregon. We've got a group of 3 different addresses in Ohio all joining in. We have people in Massachusetts again. We're just all coming together and doing it. We also have some cool groups. A lot of people, they do this as friends or family gatherings. So for example, we have Natalie was treated to a birthday tasting tonight by Serena, both good friends of ours, and so they're here joining us here. We got family from all over, from multiple states and cities joining in on this. All of our aunts here. I've got cousins on my mom's side. My mom is here as always. She's our #1 VIP guest each week. She gets the first set of tasters off the top. Also, we got, again, we're spreading quickly throughout Tahoe Park. Tim Blankenship, I don't think, is on this week, but Christine and Andy are. They're passing it to more neighbors and just kind of growing through the whole neighborhood where we grew up. So you go down to the local corner market and they're taking part in it as well. It's really awesome to have us all connecting. Also, Erica Reese and her aunts, uncles, family. Candace, also known as Lollygagger from our roller derby days. I was Jerome Chrome Dome Luther. But a bunch of her family, a lot of the Justs are joining in today. So I think it's really cool that we continue to spread that. We grow and come together as a family, see each other weekly, even if just for a moment through masks, so that we can all connect. It's fun to just type in the web and not lose touch in isolation. We can actually be more together.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerome. Thank you for the shout outs. That's a big thing to us because, it's like, I think big companies, they're like marketing to the masses. We're being watched by like groups of people who are all spread from people we know. It's like friends of ours, family of ours, people who have met us along the way, who are telling their friends, who are telling their friends. It's really spreading virally. Am I allowed to say that still?
Yeah, but in a good way.
Yeah, a good viral. And so it's just spreading person to person. And we're seeing that. It's like each week someone shares it with their friends and sends out tasting kits to their friends, invites like 5 people to join them or buys them kits and ships it to them. And then they tell 5 friends. And so we're just, it's growing like crazy, and we really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, that's another one. Brian Neff. He just buys them and distributes them around as well.
It's true. So yeah, so some really great groups out there. I'm sure we've missed a few, so thank you everyone who's supporting us. So this next wine we're cracking open is the V5 Forest Bed Grenache. So this wine sold out quite a while ago because, well, we didn't make much of it. We only made a barrel or 2 last year. We just got about a ton of these grapes from, a ton not in the, I mean a lot, I mean like 1 ton, which only makes about 2 barrels of wine, about 500 bottles, from a beautiful biodynamic vineyard out in El Dorado County, known as Narrowgate Vineyards. I think we have a question from the crowd, or?
Specifically for Jerome, please settle a bet. Is that a mask or a kerchief? Janine Gaines would like to know.
It is a mask. This was actually... So the funny thing about being a delivery driver is I get a lot of random little kickbacks. The other day I was driving around and somebody gave me a pack of string cheese. I got a to-go steak dinner one time. That was awesome. Appreciated Emily and Becca, and I should have thrown them in the shout outs. But this is a mask made for me by Christine Strobin, I believe it is. She's part of that group on J Street. If you drive through Tahoe Park and you see those inspirational signs that have been put out in the island in the middle, they're part of putting those out. Supply masks for delivery drivers and nurses and people who are in the situations where they're coming in contact with people. So she gave me this. She's got an interesting sense of humor, so it's got skulls and crossbones on it. Although if you're close enough to see that, you need to back up. But yes, it is a mask. It's a post-apocalyptic chic. So
Yeah. So,
hope that came through.
All right. So I did a fancy technology thing. I'm technically a millennial, but I'm really bad at technology, but I've spent like way too many hours trying to figure out how to do like an effective Instagram and Facebook Live video.
Instead of channeling his like hipster, like generational powers towards computers, he does it towards his accessorizing.
Yeah, right. I've got a scarf as a sash belty thing. I have ties as a wristband. I mean, what am I even doing? This cowboy hat makes no sense with the rest of this outfit. It's ridiculous. So that being said, I did a technology thing. I
did a technology.
I did a thing, as the hipsters say. I posted a poll on this live video, and you guys voted. Thank you for voting. 39% of our we asked which of the first 2 wines tonight was your favorite of the Chenin Blanc and the Rosé. 37% of people, it's changing as I look, so I have to talk fast, said the Chenin Blanc, and 62%, I know those don't add up because it's changing, voted for the Urban Flora Rosé. So the Rosé is a winner. That is always one of our best sellers. It's just a delicious, easy drinking wine. So
especially as it starts to heat up. Some of the reds are better nighttime, winter, like when you're cozying up. The Rosé is fantastic when it gets hot.
Yeah, and I'm shocked. 0% of you guys voted for I Love Scotch, Scotchy, Scotch, down, down, down. I mean, none of you? I thought at least one person would be a smartass and choose that option, but all right. So that being said,
I would choose Scotch with the wine.
Yeah. On that note, I'm actually drinking Scotch with the wine. This is some Macallan. This is from Alex Goki. Thank you, Alex, for contributing some Scotch to my liquid courage. So that concludes our blend. So we're into the Grenache here. So this Grenache is from Narrowgate Vineyards. It's a beautiful vineyard. It's not only organic, it's a biodynamic. If you guys don't know, organic means you only use organically grown grapes, organic techniques. Biodynamic means organic, it's like organic and then some. It's treating the whole vineyard as an ecosystem. And Frank out at Narrowgate does a wonderful job. At about 2,500 feet, high elevation, volcanic soils, beautiful grape growing, and it makes a wine focused on red fruit, but also with a beautiful earthiness and spiciness. There was a question earlier from the crowd as well about what wood do we age our wine on, and we kind of answered that earlier. This one aged on oak as well as a little bit of cherry wood. The barrels are made out of oak, but we put wood inside of them. It looks like a 2x4, but it's smaller, and we just put it inside the barrel to give it flavor.
You could just say
from
smaller
cherry.
numbers.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
could just
a
say
1x2.
1x2. Yeah, it's a 1x2. It's a 1x2x8 more or less.
I want to jump back real quick to the biodynamic because I think you gave a good explanation. But the way I always like to think of it, it helps me grasp it and kind of convey the message to people, is that biodynamic is to organic what veganism is to vegetarianism. It's the same thing, but to a greater level. And just, that's the way I keep it straight in my mind.
That's a great description. So,
And the dude is really cool. I've met him as well at a Localis dinner, actually.
yeah,
Him
Frank's
and his
really
wife, they're both.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and so if you ever heard the term natural wine, that's like the person who says they're vegetarian but occasionally still eats like something that's not quite vegetarian. That's usually the natural scene. With our natural wines, I never use anything non-vegan, don't worry. But
Leaves the bacon out.
great, yeah. So all right, life pairing with this V5 Forest Bred Grenache is meeting someone who at first they seem sweet and pleasant, a kind soul. But as you spend time with them, you see that beneath that sweetness is an inner strength and willpower that you didn't see at first glance. I think this wine just has that like fruitiness on top, but then if you taste it, there's actually a lot of finish to it. There's some spiciness and tannins on the finish. So on that note, the music pairings are Should I by Aram Ray and It Gustas Tu by Manu Chao. And the literary pairing is from Joanne Harris from the movie Chocolat. It's also a book. Actually, this quote's technically from the book. But I could do with a bit more excess. From now on, I'm going to be immoderate and volatile. I shall enjoy loud music and lurid poetry. I shall be rampant. So, yeah, fun quote. Where to find this wine? This is at the Kitchen. In fact, that's one of the reasons it sold out early. The Kitchen, Michelin star rated here in Sacramento. Beautiful restaurant. They took this on their pairing menu as well as by the glass. Great people over there, Esra and the rest of the team. And also us. It's there and it's with us. And it sells out every year in like a few months. So scope it out. The pre-release is on the website as all these wines. And again,
It's great that you can use terms like every year, since we've only done it 1 year so far. 100% every time.
I'm 100%. We've nailed it.
These are from Scotch.
Thank you for calling it out. So tasty wine. I think that's the take home. Last one is the V8, the Sower Tanat. So you can crack that last vial open and pour that in your glass or take it as a shot. Jerome's foregoing the glass at this point in the night.
I had something else in my mason jar, and I didn't want to chug that and then try to talk.
Yeah, I'm chugging them and trying to talk, so it's always fun. So, I didn't create a poll for this, but if you guys want to comment and make votes, I'm thinking about a tagline for this virtual wine tasting series because there's a lot of tasting series out there. There's virtual wineries trying to do this. I was thinking about the tagline being the only virtual wine tasting where the winemakers get drunk with you. So if you guys like that, let us know.
That's a long hashtag.
Yeah, that is kind of a long hashtag. It's not hashtagable. See, I'm not a real millennial. I'm like.
Martin wants to know
Borderline
what the
legit.
picture behind you is.
Oh, so the picture behind us, Marg asked. So it looks like a picture of me getting drunk underground. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of small on the screens probably, but this is the the same art that is on our V6 Drinking Tree Pinot Noir. So this particular piece of art was given to me by my sister Jamie, sister-in-law there and my brother John, and she gave this to me. She's a professional artist, does amazing art, and she thought it was kind of funny because he looks, one of the artists in this looks a bit like me. He's the one, he's the model, and he's also drinking wine that's attached.
Oh, I was gonna bring it up. It's tethered. Sorry.
He looks a bit like me, and he's drinking wine underground, so it kind of matches my vibe. And she gave that to me way before I ever ended up using their art for my bottles. We ended up using that art on our label, and as well as a bunch of the art from Robert and Shannon Harrison. They do amazing art. It's all focused on the intersection of nature and humanity and how we struggle with that, and our relationship to technology and caring for the world as things kind of fall apart because of man's destructiveness. It can seem a bit dark. Their art is definitely a bit post-apocalyptic vibe.
It's timely.
It's pretty timely. I mean, it's pretty spot on, and I believe in that stuff. You know, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think it's important we pay attention to our intersection with technology, and that's why I try to have a light hand in my winemaking. I really, really agree. If you feel like it, check out Robert and Shauna Park Harrison's website, their artist statement. Like, I'm not even joking. It's actually made me cry twice. So check it out. It's pretty inspiring, their approach to art and environmentalism. So now on to the V8, the Sower to Not. This last one, I better get that in my glass so I don't look like I'm faking. This last one is Tannat from Calaveras County. Tannat is a grape that originally comes from the south of France, but is really, really rarely grown there. You see it, barely grown in this tiny little corner. And it became popular in Uruguay. They pronounce it Uruguay, don't they? Yeah, like that. You know,
that was better than your French accent.
Yeah, right.
So well done. Yeah.
Which is to say, it's still terrible. It tends to make a wine that's very dark fruit, spicy, smoky. So rather than timidly approaching that, I this vintage sort of doubled down on it and aged it on maple wood, hickory wood, a little bit of whiskey barrels, and those accentuated the smoky characteristic while also adding complexity of smokiness to it.
Yeah, when I was smelling it first before tasting it, I smelled more like dark fruit, jammy type, and then I started getting into it, and that's really, really smoky and dark. A lot of like peppery spice in there. I like that.
It's so true. And with this wine, I think it's tempting, especially because it was aged in these whiskey barrels, to be like, oh, it's smoky because of whiskey barrels. But no, I think it's actually smoky because it was grown next to a big field of super dank weed.
That explains why I also had a weed pairing for this one. Go ahead.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
This
it's in the terroir.
Legitimately, Star Canyon Vineyard. Sorry to put you guys on blast, but it's all legal now. They grow weed there too, and it's beautiful. They grow all organically. There's a super cool vineyard in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Calaveras County, you drive past these limestone caves, the caves out there, and you come across this vineyard in the middle of nowhere through an Indian reservation down this canyon, and they grow these beautiful grapes. The Grenache that goes in our blend is in there. The Tannat here is there. So, and they grow some great weed too. So, was there a question from the crowd?
Deborah would like to know the meaning behind Voluptuary and Lucid.
Yeah. So why Voluptuary and Lucid? And then we're going to get into some weed pairings here in a second. So Voluptuary was the brand I started first. Super, super tiny production. 100% organic, organically grown, organically made, certified organically grown grapes. It was kind of the extreme version of all of my beliefs, as well as an extreme expression of my experimental techniques. That tends to come with a fairly high price point, small production, kind of artistic techniques, so on. So Lucid was a bit of getting back to my roots of growing up poor and growing up, not with wine, not in wine culture. And I wanted to make a wine that still brought those values, but was a little more laid back, was a little more accessible price point, and that was Lucid. So Voluptuary, the name, I mean, the names were just fun names, you know, and the websites were available and they weren't trademarked, frankly. But, you know, the reason for two brands when I'm as tiny as I am is just to differentiate the slightly different styles. So people tend to fall into one or the other camp. You know, you might like one or two wines from each brand. People tend to kind of be in like Team Lucid or Team Voluptuary. If people want to do the whole posting thing, you could like say what team you're in. You're more of a Voluptuary or Lucid fan.
We'll make t-shirts.
Yeah, we'll make t-shirts and we'll post those soon. So do you have any weed pairings for this?
Yeah, with this one, you know, I referenced with the rosé, it being such a light summery that I would recommend a sativa, something inspirational and light. This one, to me, it being so dark and smoky, being like a very nighttime, you know, like where you're just kind of settling in, I think it would be great with like a heavy indica, you know, something that puts you in couch lock and makes your, you know, eyelids drop a little. I also think, while the first one, you know, it should also be, you know, smoked somehow, I want to say clean, you know, and a fresh wrapped joint or like, you know, a clean little pipe. This to me kind of reminds me of the old school days, like where you're just passing around a big fat blunt rolled up in a swisher sweet, and like passing around a 40. I think you get something really funky and smelly, like apparently the dank weed it's grown near. Roll it up, and I think that would be beautiful with this, just settling in at the end of the night, where you just need to relax.
Yeah. And so on that note, to kind of dovetail off that, my life pairing with this is you know, it's a camping thing, but whereas the earlier camping pairing was more beach bonfire, this one's like a proper camping trip, like deep woods backpacking, perhaps with your father, and reconnecting over philosophical discussion. And then the music pairing with this is Molasses by Conwakan. Really cool song.
It could also be a decent food pairing with it. It's got that funkiness.
Molassesiness, yeah, totally. The maple wood kind of gets this molasses flavor. And then literary pairing is John Muir from Our National Parks. And the quote is, "Thousands of tired, nerve-shaken, over-civilized people are beginning to find out that going to the mountains is going home. That wildness is a necessity." And I think that's just so pertinent right now, especially like the more we're in society, the more we're stuck in our daily cycles, we lose track of what's really important and what levels us.
We have a question.
Finding some grounding in nature, I think, is important. And this wine, the smokiness and that kind of backpacking vibe, perfect. So we have a question from Cal.
Renee would like to know the names of number 4 and number 5 again.
So number 4.
Sorry I didn't have any tasting sheets yet. Left when I got to your place, Renee. Enjoy the wine.
Yeah. So number 4 is the Source. V4 the Source. I'm sorry. So number 3 in your list is V4 the Source. It's a blend, and then the 4th wine is V5 Forest Bed Grenache, and the 5th wine is V8 the Sower Tannat. So all of those last ones are voluptuary wines. And again, for anyone who's just popping in now, we're tasting through our 5 wines. We've kind of just about reached the end. These are all new releases, pre-release wines, and these are all available on the website. They will be shipped in May. We're still finishing them, so you guys are getting a sneak peek. No one has tasted these wines before. You are the first people, other than myself, my brother, and a couple of close friends, to taste these. So thank you guys for joining us and tasting these.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm going to come up here and turn this around here real quick. So, something we touched on earlier at the beginning, but bring up again now. Hello. Is that it is a different lineup every week. There may be 1, maybe 2 crossover from week to week, but it's generally going to be an entirely new selection each week, along with a new set of descriptions and bad jokes. So you have various options. We again talked about this at the beginning, but make sure it's showing. Excuse me for the technical difficulties, everybody. Trying to get things in view. There we go. So you got 3 options. For $8, you can get your 5 small tasters just to play along. You get about a glass worth altogether, and it just gives you the experience that you can enjoy this with us. For a little more, around $35, it varies, per week. You get 2 full kits plus a bottle of the winemaker's choice. That way you can play along, and then you got a little more to enjoy later. Lastly, for groups, if you got a few people in your house or you want to enjoy it later, for 120 or so, and again it varies based on what the wines are, you get to have full bottles of all 5. So you can go through and enjoy everything as much as you want. Bring it back to the front here. We lost this one.
Oh. All right, gonna pop up here.
Sorry, I accidentally touched buttons.
Oh. All right, hey everyone. We're so I'm just gonna real quickly get this Instagram video going again here. Cool. So, thank you everyone for tasting through those first 5 wines. Well, I should say the first 5 wines. You may have more wines at home. You can keep tasting, or scotch, or beer, or whatever you may have with you. But thank you for tasting through the 5 wines. We are wrapping up now. So as Jerome mentioned, we have these beautiful tasting kits. We have upcoming themes, whether it's the drink and draw or the Bokish focus. Marcus Bokish from Bokish Vineyards coming up. That's a tongue twister. And some really cool stuff. We're going to have, trivia nights and all sorts of cool stuff. If you have ideas for themes, please suggest them. And I also wanted to mention, thank you all for commenting and sharing and hashtagging. If you share this live video or the posted video afterwards, we are going to send you a discount code. If you hashtag a friend, we're going to send you a discount code for a discount off your wine, as well as a discount for 99-cent tasting kits. So hashtag a friend, share. We're going to give some discounts, just some little, kickbacks, help you guys out for supporting us, for being here for us. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Before we close out, I had one other little thing I wanted to show. And this ties in with what Kevin was saying about supporting us and supporting local art. We have a subscription package, as most wineries do, where we give out monthly wines, and there are various options depending on how many bottles you want, depending on whether you want Lucid or Voluptuary or both mixed. But every month, along with your wines, you'll also get gifts. All of them are done by local artists and craftsmen, whether it's the cutting boards made by Ambrose Crafts, whether it's the coloring books by Chen, who we're going to do the drink and draw with. We have these beautiful candles by Erin Botto that are not only scented, but they've got focus rocks with them. We got the Israel Family Farm soap, very important in these times, and also local, organic, handmade. Teas Bees Honey, made by our Aunt Teresa, and various other things there. So you get one of these per month along with your wine and free shipping or delivery. So understand right now it's hard for a lot of people to commit to things long term, but it is a way to not only support us, but to support local artists across the board and give back to your community while also getting just cool, useful things. I mean, cutting boards, to-go glasses, night lights, candles, soap. They're all things you're going to use. The honey, I go through those like crazy. So check it out online on both websites. We'd love to have more subscribers. Also, when things become live again and not just virtual live, you get VIP treatment at all our events and, get little kickbacks. So, back to Kevin typing.
Yeah. So, thank you again, everyone, for joining. I hope you all enjoyed these new release wines. I've been feeling kind of guilty because as I've been making these wines and finishing them, I honestly feel that these wines are kind of blowing some of the last vintage out of the water. I think they're just incredibly tasty. I hope you guys feel the same. We just did a little poll, and I see that out of the 3 new wines, we have a favorite out of the 3 new red wines. The Tannat ended up winning 70-something%, and the Grenache and the blend were about 15% each. Early on in the voting, those were getting some votes. The first two, so you guys probably liked them, but the Tannat totally blew everything out of the water. So I'm glad you guys like that smokiness, that sort of whiskey, bourbon, smoky element.
Maybe we just have a bunch of stoners watching.
Right, the rosé and the Tannat.
Yeah.
Everyone just liked the weed pairings. Those were pretty awesome. I really like those, Jim. So yeah, we have one last poll, and I threw out there what is your guys' theme for future tastings that you're most excited about, and it looks like Drink and Draw with Karen Chen is the winner. But there is some interest in the Bokish Focus as well. I think people just like the name and wanted me to say that again.
And on the drink and draw, that's going to be something where you'll be able to buy both the wine and the books through us and through Karen's site. You can check it out from there as well. I don't believe that's posted yet. It's still about a month out, so we'll get that on there. So you'll actually be able to, we'll all have the same books, and Kevin will be talking, and me and Karen will be over here coloring, so that we can all then do it from there, and then we'll be able to share all the photos and all of us enjoy the art we did.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm not doing art because my art is wine. I don't do drawing.
And even with that, he colors outside the lines.
Yeah. Anyway. So on that note, I think that's a suitable ending. Thank you guys all for joining us again. Cheers, and thank you Localis for joining us and doing the pairings. Everyone order from Localis. Feel free to check out our future tastings. Feel free to comment and share after the video is posted. Cheers to our family joining us from many states, and to our friends.
And to all of the above, we love you guys, and that's not just the wine talking.
Thanks all. There's a button here somewhere. There we go.
One, two, maybe?
There we go. Got it. Shit.
Do you already show the top one?
Yeah, it's still showing.
Oh, I see.
Like recording there.
But that red button, that red dot there on it?
And